All right, let's talk real quick about the other dealing that happened. This one also went official after El Brujo, but Damion Lowe, yes, ladies and gentlemen, he is on his way to Saudi Arabia to Al-Akhdoud. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. I saw the dude in there, and I wanted to say the Dude Club, but Al-Akhdoud. He's off to Saudi
Probably how
Arabia.
I'd say
Yeah, right. Like
it.
we probably
Wasn't
definitely
it
need
silent in there? I think the H is a little silent. So Al-Akhdoud, this sounds great.
Al-Akhdoud.
well, we're gonna need a Saudi Arabia soccer expert here to help us out with these because obviously this isn't like gonna go away. I think a lot more players are gonna be going down there, so be
Yeah.
very useful to. But yeah, Damion Lowe's gonna go up against the Cristiano Ronaldo's, the Sadio Mane's. I think Benzema's still kicking around. I'm not too sure about that one, but this is good for Damion, and like Jim talked about as well. Saudi Arabia obviously has money, and when they throw the money at Damion Lowe, the Union are like, well, yeah, we're not gonna beat that. Sorry, buddy. Enjoy your time over in Saudi Arabia. But the bigger concern, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that Damion's gone. And when you now look at the depth at center back, it's pretty damn thin. Okay. Like this is a little bit similar to Stuart Finley, although you do have all the way through here, which we are all still wondering what do we have with the guy we signed with the U22 initiative. Jim also brought up in today's presser the thing I don't like, Renee, putting Nathan Harriel at center back. I don't like that. I know he can play. I don't like it, though. But this is a concern, all right, because we have 9 MLS matches like we talked about. We have MLS Cup playoffs still. We're hoping to make a run. Glezes and Elliott, as we all have been talking about all season long, they haven't been playing really good like we in the past. So this is definitely a bit of a concern, guys.
I would be feeling so much more comfortable with this move if we had earlier last season, even Jacob and Jack, and seeing how they're playing, it's very concerning. Honestly, this is not a move based off what we're hearing that the Union were interested in. In terms of Julian Carranza, they were actively involved with that conversation. Even Jose Martinez, it felt like it was much more back and forth because we also got the leak of it. Then Jose played another game. He got his final game. We got to see the penalty kick, the moment, and then it took some time. Damion Lowe was gone. I mean, people were tweeting out like he's already in Saudi Arabia. Like the deal is done. This is not a possible. It happened. Like when we first heard it, the deal was done. So when the Saudi Arabian money comes into play, there's no negotiating. There's no going back and forth. And there's definitely no way the Union can compete because as one of the teams that spends the least amount of money in the MLS, you're not competing with the most expensive league right now in the world. So for him, congrats, exciting news, because that is, as you mentioned, JP, it's obviously a league on the rise that's attracting a lot of the best talent in the world. Huge step for him in his career, but a huge regression for the Union to not have a third center back. And you are in a stretch right now where your center backs are not even playing well. You look at the second half of the match versus the Rapids. You look at it just the season as a whole, from the very opening game of Jakob Glesnes scoring on us against Andre Blake on a back pass. Like it's been a really frustrating season for the back line as a whole. It's been very inconsistent. It's been very concerning. Now, we pinpointed a lot of those concerns to Andre Blake's injury. And since he's been back, they've looked way better. But this is a center back duo that is unfortunately having played a lot of minutes and has been, as we talked about with Jose, kind of the big core of this group for so long that opponents had the playbook on them. And so I'm extremely concerned that not only is there no depth and the best options next are Nate or even Kai, the fact that you don't even have 2 center backs you can confidently trust for the remainder of this season. You're talking about closing out, needing to win games. Obviously, does not get easier from here as you look ahead. You got Columbus coming up. But yeah, after that, it's even the Red Bulls, Miami, NYCFC, DC, Atlanta. The conclusion of this season is really difficult. And they're trying to win points, win games, climb the table. And we have to rely solely on trusting Jack and Jakob, who we have 2 of the players that we unfortunately haven't been able to trust this entire season.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning how thin the center back position is. It is scary because those guys that you just said also didn't get any breaks during like the international play. When Euros and Copa America were going on, they were the ones that were there on the line defending. So Nate and those guys, they at least got the chance to, have those breaks. But it's going to be concerning to see down this stretch, these next 9 games, their workload, how much we're going to be putting on these guys. And like you said, to put trust in them right now, after seeing what we've been seeing through this year and, kind of last year, is it enough to put faith on these guys? I don't really feel like it is, and, Damion Lowe, if we had seen the writing on the wall that this was going to be a done deal, signed and delivered, he was going to be leaving, it would have been great for the Union to have some kind of, measure to kind of, have a precaution for this. So we can say, hey, we need somebody to kind of fill in because we know Damien's not happy here or whatnot, and he's going to leave. I don't know the full story of why he left. I thought there might have been a little bit of shade going on. I saw some stuff, but I could be making that up.
What'd you say?
Well,
I saw like a tweet or something that he sent out. It was like, if they don't believe in you or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
I think that was the Instagram story or post that he put up. I'm assuming it's a story because I just looked at his Instagram account. There's nothing on there from that. But yeah, that was very cryptic. And I think we talked about it on the show when he put it up. But yeah, it just kind of felt like someone who just didn't feel appreciated by their employer or by somebody, which obviously you put 2 and 2 together as a Union fan. You're thinking, oh, okay, so maybe they didn't want you back. And obviously, look at his contract situation. There was no contract after this year. So probably Damion went up to the unions like, hey, I want such and such. And you're like, well, we don't really see you at that number there. And so Damion looked us elsewhere. I think before he played in Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. So he's
played in Egypt, yeah.
He's playing different leagues. So, he takes a look at Saudi Arabia, that club probably threw some more money. And there you go. There's your appreciation.
Do we know how much money he's going to get from them? Has that come out or anything confirmed? Or
question?
I haven't seen the exact numbers. We know it's a 2-year. It is a 2-year deal that they've released that information. To your point, JP, he did play with Inter Miami, Seattle, Minnesota, and then in Egypt. Mm-hmm. And so for Damion, with his contract ending, and there was no discussion of an extension or any plans for the future with him with the Union, it did feel like, unfortunately, they got to a point where they had to choose. Now, with Jose, we also had heard cryptic messages. So also when his move happened, I wasn't surprised because it seemed like they had reached the point where it was like, we can't continue. They're going in a different direction. Damion, what's surprising is because of the 3 center backs, it felt like at some point they were going to choose 2 of them. And one was going to be at the door. It's hard to remove a defensive player of the year. It's hard to remove a captain. It's hard to move a guy but in both of those guys that have been the anchor of your back line for so long, Damien's the new one. He's the last one in the back line, first one out, so to speak. So I'm a little frustrated by it because of the fact that I'm like, I thought they could have even gone with the 3 backup points to get all of them on the pitch. Like they were struggling to find a way to get all of them out there. We know we had heard the talks of Damion or even Jack playing in the 6, but they never figured out a way to best utilize all 3 of them. And Brendan Craig, this is not the first time we've heard or seen the Union struggling with talented center backs to find a spot for them on the pitch. The hard part is, as you look at those 9 games, you play the Columbus Crew twice, you play Orlando City, you play Inter Miami, you're going up against some really good offensive teams. Cincinnati, it's a very tough 9 games. I mean, the season as a whole has been tough, but it's about to get even tougher. So now you're going into a stretch where you have to rely on these guys to be fresh, be ready. Your only substitution is Olivier Mbaizo. That's the only backup option you have for any role is Olivier Mbaizo to then have to slot and maybe move Nate or Kai because Oweithu Makanya, we haven't seen anything that let us think he's close to being ready. So this is very concerning because their back line has already been under a lot of pressure. We saw that the last 2 Leagues Cup games, Columbus, Colorado. Are you either of you walking away from those games overly optimistic about what this defensive unit has? Like the midfield has depth, has backup options outside of Jose. The back line actually needed to add pieces, not lose pieces. I felt like they needed to bring in a better guy, a center back, to be honest. Like not to lose a center back with no plans in the foreseen future of who they're going to add. This is concerning.
Real quick, so according to Transfer Market, it looks like the transfer fee was 179,000 euros. So I'm assuming $180,000. So what's interesting though is that back in 2023, we got Damion Lowe from Inter Miami for $206,000. So obviously the Union are just trying to make something out of the player, considering the fact that they didn't plan on bringing him back after this season. So definitely a loss, but it's a plus because you're still going to make some money instead of making no money by letting him walk after his contract. And Renee, to your point, that's a really good point, because if you guys remember, Gleza suffered the injury at the end of last year where he missed a playoff game, and then in the Cincinnati match, he couldn't even play. And you had Damion Lowe for that time period. So now you have to rely. And it's so funny that, like, you know, even at the town hall meeting, like their plan for the congested schedule with the squad was they were hoping everyone would stay healthy. Well, you really need to hope that your two center backs absolutely stay healthy and that they're playing at the high level that we know that they can play at. So it's a little bit messy.
That's very concerning. And then I know they have even mentioned, of course, Ali Bedoya's played outside back, Leon Flag's played outside back, but this is not, you don't want to have to band-aid solutions of moving guys that haven't played those positions in a while. Like, yes, they've played there before in their career, but we're talking about your back line in the last stretch of the regular season where you need to be at your best. And unfortunately, it just seems like there's no plan to invest for the future in the foreseen future, because there's no plans for what they're going to do next.